G'day guys and welcome, my name's Michael and I am the Deadaussiegamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Today we are back with another character corner where I explain and break down how I create the various characters I portray in the live shows you might find me on. Today we're going to be discussing Jormun Gale, the character I play on the D&D Twitch stream Descent into Avernus Bloodwar. So, this has got me really excited because as many of you who have watched my channel for a while now will know, I am a very big fan of anti-heroes and villainous protagonists. The people who kind of, I suppose, get a bit of a bad rap among GMs. Oh, this character is way too edgy. This character is against the party and he, does things that ruin the game. I, however, am a very big advocate of there being a good and constructive way to play evil characters, and Jormun Gale, for me, represents a way that I can show pretty much the world how to play evil characters good, if that makes sense. Or how to play evil characters well. So yeah, let's go over how we created Jormun Gale. So, first and foremost, I want to give you guys some context to how he was created. Under normal circumstances, I like to take my time when creating a character. I'm one of those airy-fairy people who love to feel out a character, I can't look at a class and go, yep, that's what I'm going to play, then here is the character that I'm going to go. I usually take my time. I chew over a narrative story that I like, or just a particular aspect or personality quirk. It might even be a voice that I've found that I want to build a character around. But with Jormun, it was very different. When we finished Ghost of Saltmarsh Season 1, we were told that we would definitely be confirmed for a Season 2, which was fantastic. And getting to play with all the same guys was just awesome. But we weren't told whether or not we were going to be playing the same characters, or whether or not we were going to be making new characters. So everyone was kind of on this this sort of limbo, this standby phase, where no one really knew what to do, whether or not we level up our characters or build new ones. It was about, I want to say, 2 weeks before the actual launch that Guy, our beloved game master, turned to us and said, you have till Friday to come up with a character because we need to get it to the artist. He said, you're going to be playing characters who have been arrested for some kind of heist, they're about to be executed, and they must have done something to have sinned well enough to have basically gone to hell. So that was interesting, and with these parameters, I was kind of like, okay, where do I go from here? Jeez, all right, well, maybe I murdered a bunch of people. Maybe I don't know, maybe I stole a cursed artifact. Maybe I cut a deal with the devil so that I could play music really well. I mean, I didn't know. I was just like, I had so many ideas. Eventually, thankfully, actually, Jenny and Myri came up with characters that they wanted to play, and I kind of looked at what they were playing to reference what I was doing. So Jenny ended up playing a warlock who had a pact with an evil creature, and that, kind of made sense. And, of course, Myri decided to go with the Shadow Monk from a secret underground evil organization. And that was kind of cool as well. So you had two characters who were kind of like agents of evil. And I kind of looked at that and went, all right, where do I go? What should I be doing that isn't that? I don't want to be an agent of evil. I want to be someone who, in his heart, is evil. So I decided that the angle of evil that I was going to look at was blasphemy. Because I think it's one of the underrated ones, We see a lot of incidences where there's vengeance, where there's some, sociopathy, these things make people evil, sure. But we're playing in a fantasy world, one where magic and gods and all that are, tangible constructs within the game. They are, you could go to places and interact with deities and it's a completely different matter when one blasphemes against a deity. If you blaspheme in the real world, then you stand or rise against the church. The church then obviously, excommunicates you, condemns you, whatever it happens to be, and that's the kind of process here. In the fantasy world, however, God can literally smite you. Whatever, you happen to have done. So I loved this idea of having a character who had blasphemed and his soul was therefore condemned by this major god to hell. So the next step was obviously, if I was going to blaspheme, what was I going to do? How was I going to play this? Naturally, when one talks about someone who has turned their back on God, nothing really is more palpable than a paladin. So I latched onto that straight away. I went, yep, that's it. I'm going to play a fallen paladin. Someone who was good, who was heroic, who was an exemplary example of, righteousness in the world, who is no longer, who has been in some way, shape, or form betrayed by his church, by his kingdom, by his god, and is now evil. So this paladin, fantastic. I now had my character. I now had a concept. Now I wanted to look at how to interact with my fellow players. With the idea of the Shadow Monk and the idea of the Warlock, I was more leaning towards, well, the Shadow Monk being part of an evil organization, kind of like Mafia, Yakuza sort of thing. They want reputation more than anything else, right? It's all about, like, I am tough, I am big, I beat people up, it's kind of like a respect thing. So obviously, with that character in mind, I couldn't have my anti-paladin be someone who walks around tyrannical and, trying to subjugate people. That's not really going to mesh with this group. It's going to create tension, it's going to create conflict. So I went the other way. I went, what if my character was actually a really good and competent commander or a leader? Someone who didn't just issue orders, but would actually have a vested interest in the growth of his men or women. So I took that angle. I said, okay, cool. What if I make my anti-paladin someone who focuses on buffs, focuses on demoralizing my enemy, and that way I can encourage the group. I can stand at its center and be like, hey, you've got this, you can achieve this. That person there has nothing on you. Not only do I make the characters feel good, but I ingratiate these evil characters to mine, because of course they want to travel around with him. I give people buffs, I heal people, I give them words of encouragement. These are the things that you'll find a lot of evil characters crave more than anything else. Even the ones who are sociopathic murder hobos, they want acknowledgement. They want people to go, I see what you're doing, and it's okay. It's fine. I'm okay with that. As long as, it doesn't happen to me, I'm good. I even kind of played around with the idea that even if someone stole something from Jormun, oh, excuse me. Even if someone stole something from Jormun, he wouldn't be angry. He would simply be impressed that someone was capable of stealing something from his person. He might even let them keep it just because that's his nature. So yeah, that's how I wanted to build his personality. But of course, I didn't want him to be a pushover. I didn't want him to sort of be looked at as, well, he's only nice because he's weak. He's only nice because, he relies on the strength of others, which then shaped the race. Because, obviously, if I was playing a paladin in this vein, I could play a halfling, but it kind of comes across like little man syndrome. I could have played a human, made it very, very bare basics. But again, in a setting where we're going to hell, and here's a half orc, half tiefling monk of the shadow organization, it was kind of like, okay, I need something that's going to have a little bit of clout right out the gate. Hence, the Dragonborn. I don't know what it is, but for me, the Dragonborn always have like this air of respect that just follows them around. I think it's obviously everyone loves dragons, but, it doesn't transfer to things like kobolds. And you can't really, I can't at least, I can't really imagine, like, this very skinny, weedy dragonborn who's, like, a coward or, like a potato farmer who just, I don't want to go on an adventure. No, I'm pretty good right here in my little potato farm. No, it's too dangerous for me. I'm terribly sorry. You'll have to go on your own, adventurers. I imagine Dragonborns to be more magnanimous and powerful. That's kind of, my view on Dragonborn. So, Dragonborn Anti-Paladin. That's where all that came up. As for the blue dragon thing, everyone, in my opinion, goes red dragon. I've seen so many red Dragonborn. And my favorite Dragonborn dragon in general, is green. I love green. Green has always been my favorite. If you look at the Dungeons & Dragons one, it looks like a giant crocodile, And, look, stereotype all you want. I like crocodiles. So Dragonborn green was always my favorite. But I don't know, with the idea of hell, with the kind of artistic themes that I was, looking at for obviously the group and the artwork, because this is why we were making characters at the time, was just for the artwork. I was like, if I make a green character and I go to hell with, kind of the reds and the yellows, I kind of feel like my character would end up looking very Christmassy, Like he would just be this green and red contrast thing that would just look awful. So I went with the blue Dragonborn. The blue Dragonborns are cunning, they're intelligent, they're very capable of being tacticians. So I was super into that. From here, I then decided on the weapon. Blue Dragonborns have the ability to breathe electricity, so I was kind of like, how can I use that in battle? How can I make that more of a thing? Obviously, if I'm being a support character, I need to be close enough to be able to heal and shield people, but at the same time, I don't really want to get to that point where if there's nothing to do, I have to, move around to get around people, then, not do anything. So I came up with the idea of using whips that were made of metal to channel my breath weapon through. So I sort of electrified them as I whipped them around and shocked people. I thought that would be a fantastic idea, and I was very excited for this. I then kind of evolved the idea, mostly because, whips are cool, but I kind of got a bit of a, Whiplash vibe, from the Marvel Universe, the dude in the Iron Man 2 movie. And, I wasn't overly excited about it. Then, of course, I went to the Chaos Blades, the chain links attached to swords that Kratos uses in the the God of War series. Again, another really nice reference to the idea of blaspheming, the striking out and the bringing down of gods and deities. I loved it. It just fit so perfectly. So I ended up with, let me move out of the way so you can see a little bit. There you go. I ended up with these cool chain link weapons with a very nice little blade. So yeah, there we go. We had my build. We had my character. Oh, one more thing for the build. What archetype did I want to go with? Well, again, naturally, I wanted to have something to do that wasn't necessarily violent, that wasn't about me going out and smiting people. So I went with the Oath of Conquest. That's the word. The Oath of Conquest was the conquest that allowed me to channel this terrifying aura and scare the bejeebers out of people. And I just love that idea. I just love the idea of like people sort of looking at my character, who is fundamentally a support character, and going, "Oh no, we don't want to deal with that." Big dragonborn, whipping chains, crackling with electricity. It was just all about this massive intimidation and this fear that my character can put into people. At the start, I sort of went, I would never, ever, ever use this on another player. Full stop. That's it. While I could get them to run in fear if I ever wanted to intimidate them, I would never do that, because that for me is a betrayal of trust as players. I trust that if I do something scary, my players are going to... Oh, sorry, not my players. My fellow players are going to go with it. They're going to roll with the punch. We are, I think, episode 2 in now that, as of this video. And there was a scene in it where I used this aura to scare off some devils. At that same point, it was really nice that Myri had her character react to the fear that was happening. Even though I wasn't using it against her, she still acknowledged the presence of this happening in the world around her, and that's what I mean by player trust. When you can get to that point where you trust your players to be able to just go off what you're doing, you have a great time. You have a fantastic time. All right. So we've got the build, we've got the character. This was enough to give the artist. And I've got to say, Tony Trauner, the artist that does this, is an amazingly talented artist. You should definitely go and check out a whole bunch of their stuff. It gets me excited every time I get ready to play this game and I look at this character art. I'm not even joking. I'm just so filled with inspiration for this character. It is part of my ritual now for getting ready for the game. I love the artwork. It's fantastic. So yeah, we got the artist now. Now we had the game. The next step of obviously playing this evil character was to answer my own very important 3 questions. These 3 questions I use for every character, any game, all times. Number 1, what connects my character to the story? Number 2, what connects my character to my fellow players? And 3, what is my character's personal goal? Why do I get up in the morning? Why am I out adventuring? What drives me forward? So, in terms of attaching to the setting, I think this was maybe the 2nd week out now, and we got told that we were delayed for a week due to technical difficulties. So at that point, I didn't really have an understanding of what we were really doing. Guy was very secretive about where we were going in the game, whether or not we were even starting the game alive, or if we were starting in Avernus. So I obviously, I kind of didn't want to push and prod and poke. So I went with the simple, my character, his goal is going to tie into whatever happens. Because obviously at some point or another, you're going to go to hell. Easy done. My character has a job to do in the material plane, so I want to achieve the stuff in Avernus to get back to the material plane. Seemed easy enough. So what was my goal? What did I want to achieve? Well, if I'm attaching blasphemy to this, I need to have a character who is trying to do something rather blasphemous. So in his head, he was, well, I want to tear down a church. I want to bring down the Church of Brax at this particular location. This kingdom has done something wrong, or this church has done something wrong, and my character is trying to literally tear it down physically, spiritually, and obliterate it from existence. That's his goal. So how do I go about doing that? Well, who knows? I need money, obviously, to raise an army. I need strong soldiers, strong combatants that can help me do this and achieve this goal. Now I have a connection to the party. I want the party to want me to... I want the party to follow me. I want the party to want to follow me. So that when I return to the material plane and I say, hey, I'm taking down this church, will you come with me? My hope is that they will turn around and say, yes, of course we'll come with you. We absolutely want to come with you. And that's going to be the ultimate goal for the group as terms of my character in the group. Now, when you explore these 3 questions, it's also important to explore the next level, to add depth to a character. So, sure, I want to bring down a church. Why do I want to bring down a church? Usually when a paladin falls, it's usually because there is some sort of conflicting moral value that has collided with the oath that they have taken for the church. For example, a paladin being confronted with the need to kill a child because the church ordered it might refuse because they believe that the moral high ground is to allow the child to live. In another instance, maybe it could be that they believe that they require more power in order to serve the greater good, but the only way to gain power is through pacts with evil creatures. To do evil, to do great good. And that might be the conflicting morals. So in my case, I decided family. With my character with such heavy ties and, being so very well socialized, I thought family was a great thing. What if the church had slighted against my family, and in that's where I ended up coming to conflict with the church. So I created a character, an NPC with Guy, which was my character's sibling, and my sibling had been controlled or possessed or commanded by some other creature and killed our squad, or at least a good portion of our squad. Jormun was then forced to kill her, and then when he went to report this incident, the church refused to acknowledge that she was corrupted. They instead said that she was a traitor the whole time and excommunicated her from the church, banished her from the kingdom, and that was simply it. Jormun was then forced into early retirement for his services. And this, in Jormun's mind, was them basically casting them aside, basically throwing them away for their own political agenda in order to save face. To let their enemies know that they weren't so easily corrupted or influenced, they threw away his family. That's what led him on this path of vengeance against them. He refused to believe that all of the training, all of the hard work, all of the dedication and faith that both he and his sister put forward for their service was to be betrayed by these people. So that's why he wants to bring down the church. That's why he is on his quest. So, yeah, I thought that was a great story. It was fantastic, and I stuck with that for the most part. There were a few things that changed here and there, and if you want to check them out, you can go over onto the Heroes page for Jormun Gale and have a look at some of the stuff that he's got. And if you like it, then, of course, let us know. The last thing I want to leave you guys with is the name, Jormun Gale. Now, the way I came up with this idea, again, always tying back to my main theme of blasphemy. Jormun comes from Jormundyr, the Norse serpent who basically devours the world and starts Ragnarok. He kills Thor, he is poisonous, he's toxic, etc., and he rots the world from within. Jormunefaux comes from the word Jormun, or Jormundyr. So, Jormunefaux being his dragon name, Jormun being his, sort of human pronunciation that he allows humans to say. And then Galeondyr, had the deer at the end of it was the rest of that. So Jormun and then deer for the second bit. That was my little nod to Norse mythology. The name Gale actually came down because I just love the idea of the lightning, the storm, the tempest, and Gale just kind of fit really well. So Jormunefaux Galeondyr, being shortened to Jormun Gale, just has a nice ring to it. Has a strong ring to it. And has this whole storm, lightning-y feel, which I love. Is awesome. So, I'm having so much fun playing Jormun on the Dungeons & Dragons Twitch stream, and if you want to catch me playing this character live, then 12 p.m. PT on a Saturday is when you can catch it on dndtwitch.com. Oh, sorry, no. Wrong. twitch.tv/DND. And you can come and join us, all the other characters, on this epic quest through hell as we try to live, survive, and thrive in a hellscape unknown to any other. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you've got any questions you'd like me to answer about Jormun, his character building process, or even the portrayal of Jormun, then leave a comment below and let us know in the chat. Till next time, guys, as always, game hard or die trying. Bye, guys!